Study this week focuses on Jeremy, a kindergarten boy who suffers from an emotional delay. Jeremy has suffered attachment issues since birth due to exposure to prenatal drug use. Jeremy's teachers have observed that not only does he have attachment issues, he also has trust issues. In students with emotional delays, it's important to focus on building a trust through creating a rigid routine schedule that the student knows what is expected when they walk into a classroom. And it's also important to set limits and boundaries for the student so that if they do have a temper tantrum or act out, they understand what the consequences are. Part of having an emotional delay is having difficulty understanding limits and consequences, so teachers need to reinforce both limits and consequences so that the child understands their role in the classroom. It's also important to encourage children with emotional delays to play and interact with others, as they tend to play by themselves and will limit their interactions with others. Another important part of working with children with emotional delays is to expose them to small groups so that they can learn how to read others' emotions and understand the consequences of those emotions. Children with emotional delays have difficulty understanding their emotions and also reading the emotions of others. So, for example, they may have difficulty understanding that if they take a toy from another child, that child will become upset and not want to play with them anymore. So it's important to work on expressions and, especially at the kindergarten age, reinforce the idea of what different emotions are and the consequences of those emotions. For example, I'm sad, I'm going to cry. The lesson I chose to work with and to adapt for a emotionally delayed child is the kindergarten magnet lesson. This lesson is great because it can either be done individually or with groups. Now, working with an emotionally delayed child, I think using small groups of 3 students would be optimal. It also is a way for children to interact and have to share. So children will be sitting in small groups of 3, and they will be given magnets, and then different objects will be placed in the middle of the table. Children are then asked to see which objects the magnets will attract, and then to comment and share with the rest of the class which objects the magnet attracted and which ones it didn't. So it's really about helping them understand what magnets are and what magnets do. Now, how is this lesson going to be adapted for Jeremy? Well, first of all, I changed the lesson and made it a small group assignment. Also, it will be important to encourage the children to share the objects in the middle so Jeremy can understand how to share, and it will give him great practice in reading the emotions of other children. Another way to adapt the lesson would be to, before the lesson, to do a little pre-teaching, going through the routine, going through the steps to really prepare the children, especially Jeremy, for what they should expect in the lesson. I think this lesson is going to be a great tool for encouraging play. It's also a great tool in having children really interacting with